Once upon a time, in a land far, far away called Fictitiousville, where everything is fake and nothing is real, except the news, there lived a woman that was said to be the smartest woman around. In fact, the only dumb thing she ever did was tell people she was smart and never frowned. Her name was Dolores. She married a very dumb man that wasn't so smart. Mr. Clitoris somehow became close to her heart. She became Dolores Clitoris, and her new husband was so dumb, everyone could see. He would breathe in the smoke of burning tobacco leaves. In fact, the smartest thing he ever did was get that girl pregnant and get hitched, and that he did. And she told the whole town she was going to have a baby, the smartest boy around. She told the ladies at bridge, the men who helped her move her fridge. Everybody was informed on how smart Johnny would be. And one day, she did have a baby boy with the most promising future. She paraded him around as the smartest kid in town. His mother knew, as mothers do, he was not very bright. In fact, quite dumb. His smartest body part on his tongue was his thumb. So, what she decided to do is just lie. Inside, she was terrified. Her boy was as dumb as the day was long. He was more stupid than the new kid, a bigger dunce than the people you only meet once. Every day, she had to lie just a bit more. People kept knocking on the door. She had to. This kid is just plain stupid. The smartest thing he ever did was never say he was smarter than the new kid. He never spoke. It turned out to be his trick. So everyone believed her, and the clock started to tick. As he grew older, everyone in the town became even more convinced of his intellectual prowess. The scrawniest kid in school was made the quarterback of the high school team. With every blow to the head, his games just make him say ow less. He never said a word, just nodded from time to time, and if he did, the people of Fictitiousville would laugh and adore him. He made everyone feel fine. My scrawny Johnny is going to be the greatest, smartest doctor in all the land, she would boast as a New Year's Eve toast. But her proclamation came at a bad time. One sad day, her dumb husband died from smoking cigarettes. Johnny was never the same. He vowed to be a cigarette doctor, and he rose to the top of the game. With people dying all around him, he knew he was dumb, but his mama Dolores Clitoris put him in the best school where all the grades were paid in one lump sum. He smoked dope, never took a test, never went to class, but never had a problem when it came time to pass. He did get straight A's, but for being a dumbass. Dolores would swoop in with her purse and her lies, and her little scrawny Johnny became the doctor everyone would see before everyone dies. Soon he married the most beautiful woman in the land, but she too was not very bright. A small town girl from a simple, sheltered life. She got fat fast with all the riches Johnny brought in. She was the first girl in her 20s with a double chin. So they decided to have babies. The first failed to thrive. These two people are so fucking dumb, they almost lost a precious human life. They changed their mind and said, maybe just one. But everybody knows babies can happen when people are really dumb. More babies almost die in their care, but Dr. Johnny saved them with cigarette smoke in the air. I saw this man today. That's why the story. His corpse face shriveling like a neglected Granny Smith whose funeral no one will attend. His fists were clenched and rapidly turning like he was pedaling an invisible tricycle with his bony hands. He looks like he's about to punch himself, so I leave him alone. What happened to you? This man came to my property in a rage, illegally and unannounced. I'll put you in a hospital, he said. I'll put you in a hospital, he said. Who knows what gets in the mind of a dumb doctor's head? Now, he has to admit He's not smart enough to avoid spit. He and his wife have a glass house perched on a hill. Anyone with binoculars or a telescope can see the whole deal. I tell people I'm just researching the fault lines and high crimes. I attached a baby monitor to my telescope and can see what's going on there any time of day. And when he draws the curtains, I'm quite certain he'll put that house up for sale and move away. He was so dumb, the smartest thing he ever did was shut up. As one of the most famous white rappers once said, you have to be afraid of your art before you can release it. Well, call me petrified, frozen if you must. Friends, Romans, attorneys over there at Blue Dart at my son, countrymen and geologists. Unlock the secret door like she done 1,000 times before. Safe to say we're all well on our way to Hot Roll Season 2, Episode 12. Springs. That is La Jolla Springs, perched atop the Wasatch Fault, the very place where two places on Earth were completely split vertically. I know, it's weird. When you see a mud puddle dry up on the sides of the basin, kind of slide in. That's how I imagine it, but, I am absolutely... I have no understanding or training in rocks, just rock music and personal faults. You can tell, huh? The fault divides the classes in the city. There are people in glass houses on the solid granite hill that will be destroyed by rolling solid granite rocks. And then there are the people that are below all that. They're at the bottom of an ancient lake bed. And the thick layers of rock, salt. My gosh, even just that. You have to go to the Great Salt Flats to see how great it is. All right. But this unique sediment under our feet down here acts like quicksand when the earth shakes, and the ripples at the end become like intense, like the crack of a whip. Good, honest people, Mormons who are now non-Mormons, and non-Mormon and Mormon alike will all be swallowed whole by the earth in this seismic event. That it's due for not every, approximately 1,200 years. Kind of a rearrangement of the furniture has to be done, you know what I mean? So, when I'm looking up at the mountain with the telescope, people are asking me, Gib. And then I tell them I'm studying the fault and planning, my hike of the Z Trail on the Zarahemla. What's wrong with that? But as a young boy, my first science fair project was on this fault, or about this fault. Oh, and one of my close friends, Chris Williams, we've talked about him, his uncle is a geologist and helped me to make this stunning entry. I don't think it best to show, maybe. The stat then was the same as it is now. Within the next 50 years, a lethal-sized earthquake will hit the Wasatch Front. Okay, I can say it hasn't been 50 years, but they're still saying the same 50-year thing, but I get that the probability increases. And, like all things earthquake-related in Utah, largely ignored. Yeah, like my science fair project. But now, with advanced tech like LiDAR, stereoscopic imagery, they took pictures stereoscopically before the land was processed and developed. It's brilliant. You have to go get one of those things from Disneyland to look at the pictures, and that's a long trip, but I can't go to Disneyland and get one. If anyone has one of those, I used to keep it. That's why I don't throw things away. But now I have it right on my phone, so I can just go around, drive around, see exactly where the fault lines are. And I've kind of become a nuisance, I think, to people trying to get places. Put the hazards on. I'm using up the hazards. Gosh, your hazards are all blown out. You need new hazard lights. It takes time to know someone. It's hard when they're far away. Have we met? I've only heard stories. I remember your face. And now today I must say I'm told that I should see. Can you met me? Can you show me how long it's before me? Gone, gone, gone for someone who's always there, a vacant Christmas tree. No toast on New Year's Eve. Well, you know me, I'm never too far from some sort of coincidence. And honestly, if correlation was causation, I would have a team of scientists following me with my usual weekend documentary crew. The weekday team is covering the China events because it's crazy over there. Show me how to create a world, let the world tear it all down. Is there a moral to this story? Will the trees make a sound? Gone, gone, gone for someone who I really don't know where to begin. Okay, how about Chris Williams? We all know him. The 7-figure house that was nestled, his house down there in Federal Heights, over by great-grandpa Gibbs' house, and where Elizabeth Smart was abducted. And we've talked about all those things. It sits right on top of the fault. Now, at Fort Douglas, where I would swim on a team for years, is the convergence of two faults. Hospital is right on the upside, I guess, of the slide. So it must be the safest place in town if it didn't slide away years ago. Now, what if a doctor is delivering a baby and the delivery room is split away? Now, anyway, had I been born in that hospital, then I would be convinced the good Lord means for me to be swallowed whole by the earth. There is the edge of this basin localized to Salt Lake. 10 miles south, in the middle of the valley, near the eastern shores of the broken bosom of the Wasatch Mountains. Now let's pause. Here in Utah, people start their questions often with, what? Here's a sentence. In a sentence, it would be, what? What kind of word is Wasatch? And rarely, I will look something up. And you're just going to have to know that this time, I did it. And, because it's easier to just apply a theorem. You just say, you know what, it's probably a Native American term that the Utes
or now slaughtered Latter-day Sinners, the Nephites, as the Mormon, who, as you know, now prefer non-Mormon, would ask the locals about the terrain and get the pronunciation wrong. And then the local Nephite would correct them and be killed before ending their sentence in a preposition. So lots of mispronounced words are made completely the fuck up by Joe Smith.
It's the true church.
Trying to hide his outright plagiarism of other well-known works and places. The Mormons, now non-Mormons, get so rich and overzealous that they will name streets and towns and entire swaths of land after these fraudulent places. Not fictitious, because despite all of the science shooting it all down, begging them to just say fictitious, some of the faithful still want to hold to the iron rod of our ancestors. And they think that Zarahemla and Zion, they exist somewhere. Now Zion, it kept changing addresses and being completely leveled before reaching the new Zion. After the last one was leveled.
I just don't care. It's the truth.
I've been told recently that upstate New York is now doing away with the pageant that celebrates the day Jesus came to America to visit with the Mexican Israelites, Aztecs.
To manage scrutiny or the occasional fact from history.
What a joy that must have been. It's too bad they were all Nephites.
I just don't care.
Utah's just like that. Even the word Utah, I'm not sure is probably even pronounced correctly. It's just a town of made-up names. All the kids' names are made up here. I mean, like Lavar, Lavoy, Zanjanatine, all made up. Some on the spot. I can't say which. Well, once again, I'm wrong. Utterly and completely wrong. I should do more looking things up. But then there would be less not looking up time. You guys have to believe me that this is the funniest thing I think I've ever found. Here's what the worldwide wisdom says, and excuse the misunderstood term Indian, from the source Teton Gravity, where gravity has no effect on our Tetons. Wasatch means Paiute and Ute Indian phrase pronounced Huase, meaning frozen penis. True fact here, Huase means frozen penis. Yes. So, a little research makes the show better, huh? They didn't have little loaves of bread, apparently, the early Native Americans, because it's more like a bunch of nice, freshly baked bread that gets crushed when the delivery truck rams through the front of the bakery at 4 a.m. Dad! I suppose the same thing could happen at some sort of penis judging competition, if that's what the Utes were into. But nobody's penis is that lumpy. So we can see even the earliest of Utahns had some serious penis envy. Honestly, folks, ever since I've heard that stat, I can't get it out. When I'm looking at the mountain, it just, there's penises everywhere up there. Just, it looks like they're right. They were right. And where the early settlers, I would bet, is where the early settlers got the name for lumpy dick. A pioneer favorite, basically wet flour, appropriately thrown in the fire for makeshift bread. And here's the actual story of the word, okay? Wait! Oh, this is unexpected. I need to do music. I need to compose some music. All right. The term Wasatch, from Archie Rogers of the Shivwit, from Shivwit Indian band Archie Rogers. That's the Shivwit Indian band. They're not a tribe. They're a band, I guess. They do songs, too. Native American Archie tells the following story about the origin of his name. Oh, jeez, there, Edith, huh? Would you get out of the teepee? I'm trying to make lumpy dick there, huh? Oh, Archie, what are you trying to prove it? I can't break it!
The youths told me what the word Wasatch means. They said one time many of my people lived between Heber and Provo, and one day the men were out hunting, and when a big blizzard came, they lost one of them hunters. When they found him, he was dead. His penis was frozen stiff. They therefore called the place Wahuse, frozen penis.
Francis McKinley, a Ute Indian chief, tells the same story. Francis, guys. So, folks, and some of you young little rock hunters out there just joining the show, fuck, that's great. Those aren't mountains. It's easier to think of it as a side-by-side big granite line of frozen, squished, lumpy penises. Now, the Wasatch Fault is where the balls are in the sack. Let's say Lake Bolivill. It got so heavy, but then, with age, dried up a bit, receded, and then one day the sack softens up and rips all the way around from the still stiff frozen penis. And that place where the sack becomes crack and slips a few hundred or 1,000 meters is where I grew up. And Chris Williams' house is over kind of in a different scrotal region. So we would visit each other's scrotal regions. I'm at least 10 frozen dongs over from him to the south, southern dongs. My only other two best friends, Ham and Kurt, they're like houses on a connect the dots for one of these fault lines on the major fault line. My house, while it was close, it was dropped considerably from theirs, as you can imagine. It used to be wrong side of the tracks because the steam and the smoke from the locomotives would get blown by the wind in the poor people's house, and the rich people didn't have to deal with it. The poor people in this town, they have to walk uphill both ways to school. People actually have to do it because of the fault. So we get that going for us. Now, the fault first goes to Kurt's house. Boom. Wait, hold on. I gotta tell you all about this. Now, at one lower sack tear, where I'm going to start, at the bottom of a steep hill is where I crashed my bike on the day that we snuck backstage and saw Rush do a sound check. Hi, Neil. Hi, Alex. Hey, buddy. I was kind of banged up, too. But, we didn't miss that. Then the fault goes flat and just goes straight to Kurt's house, 100 meters away. We'd walk down this irrigation ditch that straddles the fault from there as it kind of 45 degrees, straight to Ham's house. And yes, he did. He had this awesome babbling brook in his backyard. It was beautiful. We called it the ditch, and it was our transit system. It's how we got around. From there, people they've built these big McMansions, and I don't think they even know that the way they live, it's clear they have no idea that the gas line is going to snap and go boom. That's all. Okay, the fault converges then with another one at the bottom of a hill at my first two girlfriends' house. See, I broke up with one on the same day with Amanda and then Jenny. Anyway, it's a long story. So where the back of the sack crack kind of meets the penis side is where we are. And we've come sort of halfway around the scrotal perforation, if you will. Now, naturally, it's a steep fucking hill toward the penis as it continues to draw the boundaries of my reoccurring dreams. I'd say my boyhood playground. And it connects the dots right at Mike Alleen's house. Mike Alleen, who ran for president of a school against Chris Williams back when Chris Williams had the egg white, mohawk. And, he busted the window. What happened? I never told you the end of that story. He busted the window of that bus. And, he found that $20 and I called him on his rule. And guess what? He needs that $20 to now fix this school bus that he's damaged in his punk stage. And he's listening to these songs about anarchy. He had some pretty good points. Anarchy's not that bad. Look into it. Okay? Considering... All right. Anyway. Michaeline ran against him and lost, and Chris Williams became the president of the school. Michaeline's house is right on the fault line, and then it goes back down again to circumnavigate down that big hill where I crashed my bike. It's like a sort of like a Zarahemla's triangle. And when I connect these dots, and now I've been enlightened that ground zero, where you can see the fault, the break, the slide, the massive destruction, is the dog park. Parley's Canyon is really a general term, I guess, the nature preserve, as you know. Now, I like to sit down and write a letter or two, like my dad did in the day. After soaking in a bit of morning gin, he'd write a letter. I cut the gin, and I write email. And this one got a response from Ask a Geologist, so I want to thank Jim over there for all of his help and putting up with me and getting some of this tech, and the maps is just awesome. So thanks to Jim and everyone over there. What it is I'm trying to find a place for my daughter and my dog to live. And it's just easier if I'm an agent for them. And, you know, La Jolla is unfortunately temporary. My friend already has lived here a long time by himself, doesn't need me here. The strangest thing is, I got to tell you this, he's got this mother-in-law, and he subs it out. That's what it is. Well, I'm up there one day doing the dishes, looking out the window, and boom, all I can see is my old house. This is the house. I'd forgotten about it because it's sort of the second house, the house of ill repute. This is the house that my mom moved to after blaming my gin-soaked innocent father for ruining their marriage. The people tell me that I'm not working at USANA because my mom had an affair with David Wentz. I don't even know these people. This is where my mom moved, and my dad moved to Yellowstone, so I had to live here. So out one window of the La Jolla Springs home, I can see, with my telescope attached to the baby monitor, way up there to the tip of the dick. Out the other window, I see this house of ill repute situated on, what is it, the scrotal cyst or mole? God, scrotal moles. Tell me that's not a thing. Maybe I tried too hard to. Yes, I surely did. Maybe you were wrong in everything. Yes, I surely was. Maybe I was wrong for you. Yes, I surely was. I reluctantly live there, and it is the house where I almost died by unknowingly mixing ammonia and bleach. Chris Thorham, whom I've told you about, somehow caught me and stopped me, and as you know, I credit him for saving my life. He's tried to kill me now numerous times since, but seriously, then he moves to Japan. Remember, he was wrong for that one girl, found the right girl, and she loves her fresh sushi. And, you know, she's got to have her chilled Kumamoto oysters and, you know, new iPhones and earthquakes, man, every day over there. Have not seen him since. But recently, he said, hey man, I'm coming to town. Let's get together. I'm like, wow, your timing's perfect. Come on over. I just figured I'd just wait till he got here to tell him what address, you know, where to find me. And sure enough, we had this plan to go spend the day together on Monday. Well, you guys, this world is so crazy. That Saturday, before that Monday, I thought, you know what? I'm going to go hit open houses and start to see what this is like. The first one, very first one, on the way to the dog park, is still being set up. She is aggressively putting in the sale signs, and I don't want to get in her way, so I decided to come back. And I come back, and it says that her last name is Thorham. And it turns out, I said, my swim coach's last name was Thorham. And she's like, that's my husband. And I said, no, this guy's probably about 78. Oh, that's my husband, Zach. Oh, you must be Chris Thorham. Yeah, Chris. Yeah, he's coming on Monday. Yeah, you don't know about Monday? Yeah, he's not. What? We don't really. Wow. Okay. Oops. She's blown away at this coincidence, and I'm the one reliving 1989 here, 30 years later, and she's just learning he's coming to town through my big mouth, I guess. Well, we got things all smooth over. And his brother's now inviting me to their house with their kids to have BLTs. And so we've solved another domestic dispute right here on Hot Roll. And if the coincidences ended there, so would I, right? The show would be over. But no, the rabbit hole only gets deeper on that topic. And we'll do it another day. Today's show live from the violently torn scrotal region of the Wasatch Mountains, I present to you the scale at which responsibility becomes liability. Don't want to pay for your car? Hey, are you responsible for this car? But okay, we can safely say it will eventually break down and in a bad place and become a liability. Don't want to ever change your underwear? Hey, that is a social responsibility that becomes a liability real quickly. Quite often, people come to me holding a bill of some sort with a strange, puzzled, but frozen from the very first moment of the puzzlement kind of look on their face. Gib? They will say and pause for me to fill in the blanks. This time, it was my housemate, David, he's been gone for a month, and he's wondering why the water bill has shot up $40. And I've watched his dogs before, you guys know, and we again had another 10 days of love, much like we had back in December. Now, I love David, mean no disrespect, but today's show was born while mulling over these two topics, dogs and water. Plus, he says that the way I say baby on this show bothers him so much that he just can't listen. I don't blame him. I can't either. His attitude is the same for the dogs as it is for the vegetation surrounding his lovely home in La Jolla Springs. And you know what? People haven't set Utah on fire like I have. So, I know how easy it is. So I explained to him that, well, I only felt the need to water around the firework holidays. And our 24th of July is way bigger than the 3rd or the 4th or, whatever that is, all those days. The house is basically flanked by these massive dry pine trees with crunchy, dried underbrush. It's an absolute tinderbox because his attitude is just not water, just whatever grows, and whatever doesn't. And the lawn has succumbed to these awful stickers that get into the dog's paws and shoes. They're everywhere. The rest, as you would imagine, is dirt and bugs and dandelions. But, hey, it's nature. We live in the mountains here in La Jolla Springs. But it's the neighbor people hate. What are you going to say? I was embarrassed to be here alone. They'd look at me like, I'm glad you're watering. I cut all the dead stuff out and just drenched the place. I also washed his car. He wants nature to take care of his car too, and it's working. This house, these dogs, this car, they're powder kegs of liability. The word liable must have come from this situation. If something goes wrong, all you can do is lie.
Your tree melted my motorhome.
This guy is liable to lie. This is one of those situations where someone is really able to lie. Liable. Well, in any case, it's a steep slope, a fault, if you will, when responsibility turns to liability. Now, to get this house even on the market, everything ever planted is dead. Or dying, except for the stickers. Bare concrete. Ugh. We have rugs, we have tile, we have carpet to soak up the odors and things so that it's not permanently embedded in the concrete that we put things in place, but if they go unused, misunderstood, I'm keeping this short. It becomes a liability. Well, we are responsible to elect a responsible president of the United States. He has become a liability by degrading our foreign relations, our domestic programs, and now rising up a violent, racist mob. 3 people just this weekend plan to go shoot at foreigners. So first, dogs aren't really man's best friend. They are animals being forced to be at our side. And if your animal attacks a person in Utah, that is a dead dog. An innocent dead dog, a liability. It really has become trendy for people to get these sheep-herding dogs, whack off their tail, and expect results after the photo shoot and Facebook stroke off. And all of these contraptions that people have to put on their dog because they put a dog in a cage all day while they're working. And then they come home and the dog is all full of the day's ancestral sort of energy. Good God. They work so hard they don't have time, or they haven't consulted, or they haven't decided. They were different. My way works best. And we get these absolute assholes walking around the park with fanny packs full of beef jerky, randomly coming up to me and asking me, "Can I give your dog a treat?" He won't take it. It's inconsistent with his training. I want to start telling people that. I know what it sounds like, but it's just, I can't. People call me crazy. Call it an unpopular opinion. Hand feeding animals, mammals, is a bad idea. I've heard it from the best of trainers. You don't do it. They equate you with food. You get eaten someday. This happened to orcas at SeaWorld. This happens to people who have lions. This happens to people who have dogs. Eventually that dog is on your lap licking off your plate. No. And when you die, yeah, your cat and your dog eat you if no one comes and gets you. So, this isn't a show preaching, take care of your shit, people. We can do better. In fact, I will say it is in our faults and keeping our responsibility that paves the path for our destiny. Right? If we cheat, we'll never know. If we cheat responsibility, if we lie, if we pay our way out of it, we steal our way out of it. You cheat, you never know what that's like. You never get a chance to be creative either. Just cheating's not creativity. Cheating is for people who are not creative. If you buy your way, lie your way down, you've admitted responsibility, sure, but never get to improvise or use the tool of truth and creativity. You're making a cake. You're missing an ingredient and guests are gonna arrive any minute. It's the spouse's fault. He forgot. You improvise. You get creative. Your muse is your reputation, your responsibility. My God, the doorbell. Buy the cake and lie. Answer questions later. They'll catch you. I started oil painting again after 25 years. All my paints have actually dried up. I had to cut into the tubes and get deep in there. And I may be the one who has to call Jim Carrey and see if he'll fix me up with some living color. Because I told you shows ago that he has this just warehouse full of oil paint. And I need some. I decided to finish a painting of my whole family that I started back in the early 90s. The faces are so hard. I end up focusing on the person and all I know. I listened to my thoughts. I heard praise, I heard love, but I also heard resentments. Almost painted right over people in favor of sneaking Grandpa Barry and Betsy in there. Well, I became overcome with emotion when I thought about Gibson Thornley Barry and his wife Lorene. Those two people brought all of these 36 people together. None of us would be standing there if it weren't for these two. It's hard to know someone. It's hard when they're gone, far away. I didn't know them. I know them from all of these people. How we met. I've heard stories. I remember your face. Everything that they ever were is replicated in a cross-section of these people. And it's likely they had faults. Both Gibson and Lorene had faults. Those carried through too. I should see. Show me how to live without you. Show me how to live without. They had the good looks, yes, but the faults are evident. And to see where this family overcame some faults and where other faults just became liabilities. The reality is that you can't always just all of a sudden decide you're going to be vegan. Gone, 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 gone. A vacant Christmas tree. No toast on New Year's Eve. There's some things that our ancestors have already made that decision for us, and we have to be careful about making those changes. In some cases, they decided we'd all be alcoholics for the rest of our lives, and that's a tricky change to make too. I was struck hard, and we're broken because we come from broken. Show me how to live. And we're whole because being broke is part of being whole. Anytime two things touch, they affect each other. You can never never completely clean something of all germs. It's always 99.9% of the germs.
It was easier then. It's hard to know someone. It's hard when they're gone.
And that's why I believe light generated for me stays with me.
Away.
Some may be 50 light years away, but I'm still shining the beam.
We met. I've heard stories. I remember your face. And now, today, I must say, I'm told I should.
And so too, Mr. and Mrs. Berry of Nye, Nevada and Salt Lake City.
Show me how to live
Hot Roll is a fictitious program.
without you. Show me how to live without truth. Show me how to live apart. Show me how to live apart from